Welcome to the Black Gay History Channel. Please share this video and subscribe to this channel for more captivating content. It's all been done before, and though many people may not know their music history, Black folk in America have created and pioneered the most popular genres of music in all of pop culture, and rock and roll is no different. Even Beyonce's rumored next album is supposed to be a rock and roll album, so for those of us who don't normally listen to this 80-year-old genre of music that has only grown and expanded over the years, it's time we catch up on our history and honor the Black and queer icons who helped establish this popular music genre. Many white fans of rock and roll forget or are unaware that Black folk created rock and roll in the 1950s. And many Black folk forget or are unaware that many of these music icons were also gay, bi, or queer. Now, there have been more than 5 Black, gay, or queer rock icons, but in this episode, we will focus on the classic icons of the beginning years of rock and roll. So here's a quick list of 5 Black, gay, classic rock stars. Sister Rosetta Tharp. If Little Richard is considered the godfather of rock and roll, then the godmother of rock and roll is Rosetta Tharp, a popular gospel singer and guitarist who gained notoriety in American music throughout the 1930s, 40s, 50s, and 60s. Though Tharp is considered a gospel artist first and foremost, her iconic and innovative guitar rhythms are renowned as the format for rock and roll, a more upbeat, danceable sound that evolved from blues rhythms. Born Rosetta Nubin in Cotton Plant, Arkansas in 1915, she would grow up singing and performing in traveling gospel troupes. And after getting married, she would begin her solo act and would become the first great recording star of gospel music. Many historians report that Tharp's queer history comes from her many rumored relationships with other popular women singers and performers of the day, including R&B gospel singer Marie Knight, who she was known to tour with in the 1940s. Biographers like Gail Wald, who wrote a biography about Rosetta Tharp's life in 2007, plainly stated she believed that there was evidence and testimony from many people who knew her that she had relationships with women, though these witnesses were unwilling to go on record. From 1941 well into the 1960s, Tharp released over 10 albums, and her musical influences on other musicians is extensive, including rock stars that came after, like Tina Turner, Chuck Berry, and Elvis. Several of her songs hit the music charts, including her iconic song Up Above My Head, Strange Things Happen Every Day, and Precious Memories. Paty Vidalia. Paty Vidalia was a popular female impersonator and singer from the 1940s to the 1960s in New Orleans, Louisiana, and is considered a renowned gay star of the 1950s. Born Irving Ale in 1921 in Vatry, Louisiana, Ale moved to New Orleans with his mother after his father died in his adolescence. It was in New Orleans where Ale would become enamored with the New Orleans drag and entertainment scene. Though Vidalia isn't considered a rock star in the truest sense, Vidalia would become one of the most popular drag entertainers in the American South in the 1950s, and would even record and release his own rock songs and perform them during the beginning of the rock and roll era, inspiring some of the first gay rock icons, some of which are on this list as well. Irving Ale would become an MC, singer, and bartender at the Dewdrop Inn, one of the most popular Black nightclubs of the time, and would go on to host an annual and highly anticipated Halloween ball. Irving Ale even made professional music records with record labels like Mercury Records in 1953. He recorded tracks like Rock Me Baby, Put Your Hand Over My Heart, and his local hit, Hip Shakin' Mama, which are some of the first crossover rock tracks of the era. Paty Vidalia's high-energy performances would inspire many up-and-coming rock and roll singers who came to see her perform, including Little Richard, James Brown, and Tina Turner. Escarita. Escarita was a professional singer and pianist who worked with and influenced the early rock and roll stars of the 1950s, 60s, and 70s. Little Richard credited Reader with teaching him to play piano, and when Richard began to gain success performing professionally, Reader pursued his own career in entertainment and took the stage name Escarita. Both Little Richard and Escarita hinted that there may have been a romantic as well as professional connection in their relationship. releasing several singles throughout his career like Rockin' the Joint and Hey Miss Lucy. Escarita would go on to collaborate with other legends like Jimi Hendrix, Dr. John, and the Jordanaires, Elvis's backup singers. Escarita would work as a writer, musician, and producer for many popular rock acts, as well as releasing over 20 of his own singles and albums throughout the 1950s, 60s, and 70s. I love that one of his tracks, entitled Do Drop In, released in 1967, paid homage to the popular and iconic drag nightclub in New Orleans, where popular drag performer Paty Vidalia and many iconic black singers and drag queens were known to perform, showing Escarita's willingness to highlight gay culture of the time in his own music. Little Richard. Richard Wayne Penniman, aka Little Richard, was one of the most popular entertainers in the 1950s and 60s, and would go on to earn the title of the godfather or architect of rock and roll for his role in pioneering and popularizing the genre. Using powerful high-pitched vocals and signature ad-libs, Little Richard's big personality captured the hearts of America. His most iconic and popular song, Tutti Frutti, was rewritten to take out the X-rated lyrics celebrating gay sex. In the media, Little Richard was surprisingly very open and public about his struggle to accept his sexuality that conflicted with his religious beliefs. Because Richard was one of the most dynamic singers and performers of his time that helped usher in the sound that is rock and roll, he was able to gain a large fan base, including white fans, which was still very hard for black performers during the 1950s and 60s. His songs like Long Tall Sally would reach number one on the R&B charts, and he would have a massive impact on the rock and roll stars that came after him and recorded covers of his songs, including the Beatles, Buddy Holly, Jerry Lewis, and Elvis Presley, just to name a few. Richard enjoyed musical popularity for decades well into the 1990s and was one of the first inductees into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame in 1986. Little Richard is still a pop culture icon with his own biopic film, which premiered in 2000, and his constant appearances in film and TV shows that tell stories of rock legends of the 1950s, cementing the performer as a musical legend. Billy Preston. Billy Preston was a popular singer, songwriter, pianist, and producer whose music styles and legacy crossed many genres, from R&B, soul, funk, to rock and roll. Preston was born in Houston, Texas, but raised in LA, and became a musician at an early age, renowned as a child prodigy who could play the organ by age 10. Before becoming a soloist, Preston would work with legends like Ray Charles, Sam Cooke, Jimi Hendrix, and was called the Fifth Beatle because of his close work with the Beatles throughout the 1960s. He charted several tracks alongside the Beatles as a session musician, like the Hot 100 #1 track, Get Back, in 1969. He would have his own hits as well, including Out of Space in 1972, Will It Go Round in Circles in 1973, and Nothing from Nothing in 1974. One of his most iconic ballads is the duet, With You I'm Born Again, in 1979, alongside Escarita. Most who knew Preston personally knew that he was gay, but because of his strong religious convictions, he struggled throughout the years and never came out to the public. But even another one of his collaborators and close friends, rock and roll icon Keith Richards, mentioned in his own biography that his close friend Billy Preston was gay, but struggled to accept this about himself. In 2021, Billy Preston was inducted into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame.